Welcome to Email After Hours by Senderscore, powered by Validity.
We're your hosts. My name is Guy Hansen.
And I'm Danielle Gallant, and this is Email After Hours. Listeners, on today's episode of the pod, we're talking, once again, about one of the most unpredictable, let's say, days in email marketing, and that is April Fool's Day. It's the one day of the year when brands can swap their usual promotions for pranks, parody products, and some very questionable announcements.
Indeed. When it works, an April Fool's email can entertain subscribers, it can create buzz, makes a brand feel a bit more human. When it doesn't, well, it can confuse customers, it can fall flat, it can even backfire worse than that. So today, we're digging into the good, the bad, the downright bizarre examples of April Fools in the inbox, and talking about how marketers can use humor in email without becoming the joke themselves. Right, Danielle?
Absolutely. And as you can probably tell, it's hosts only today. You're stuck with just Guy and I for this one. But we always do an icebreaker. And so, Guy, I'm going to put one to you today. I'm going to read you 3 subject lines from 3 different brands. And I want you to guess which one is the fake imposter.
Should I be nervous?
Subject line. No, you shouldn't be nervous. But I did not, just for everybody, I did not tell Guy in advance anything. So he doesn't know. Okay, so the first one was from Spotify. The subject line was, "You skipped 12 songs in your shared playlist. Everything okay?" The next one was from Netflix. "We saved your spot. Resume episode name at 23:14. I didn't want to give away the episode name because I was worried that might be able to confirm or deny whether it was really me because you know me well enough at this point. And then the last one was from Amazon. "You looked at product name 14 times.
Oh, that's tough. I mean, they all sound really plausible, but you know what I'm thinking? And, this was Jay Schwedelson's great joke last year about, sort of Amazon telling you about toilet seats about a zillion times. And I feel like Amazon wouldn't tell me I've looked at a product name 14 times. I think they would send me 14 emails about the product.
He probably would.
I'm going to go with Amazon.
Well, April Fool's, Guy, they're all fake.
Oh.
None of them were real.
Oh, well, at least I was 1/3 right.
Listen, but I think that's going to tie into what we talk about later when we really talk about the fact can be stranger than fiction these days. But anyway, good job. Good guess. I think that's a good guess,
I'd like to
Guy.
think the rationale was solid anyway.
It was. It really was.
Okay, let's talk about today. So first of all, Danielle, let's cast our mind back to last year and talk about some of our personal favorite messages when it came to April Fools, emails that we found in our inbox 12 months ago. And I'll go first. And for our listeners, we're going to sort of describe some of our examples, but if you tune into this episode on YouTube, we'll actually show you a few of the examples we're talking about so you can see them yourselves. But, for me, there was a great one from Charlotte Tilbury, and they claimed that they'd been asked to produce the biggest airbrush ever. And Danielle, when you opened this email, you had to scroll and scroll and scroll because this airbrush was so long. And then you finally got to the bottom and it said, April Fool. I'm a big fan of whiskey single malts, and there was a great one from Flavia who claimed that they had basically merged single malt whiskey with vaping. And the strapline was where vaping meets the spirits tasting. And I wanted that to be true because, that'd be right up my street. And then there was a slightly bizarre one, which you and I have talked about, Danielle, from Maud, with their intimacy pods, which can be installed in public places, for, sort of moments of intimacy with your loved one. I mean, that's just a little creepy, right?
A little creepy.
But my personal fave was Cotton Traders here in the UK. And they paired up with an actress called Miranda Hart. She's kind of like Bridget Jones, but even worse luck in her love life. And they announced this fake exclusive collaboration, Miranda's Big Knickers Collection. And they were encouraging their followers to shop for these non-existent oversized pieces of underwear. And email recipients initially had their eye caught with a subject line of "Big Knicker News, Miranda Hart's new designs have landed." And then you open these emails and you're like confronted with a little video of Miranda actually modeling this new range, once seen, never forgotten, I promise you. And then you sort of scrolled down and you saw some examples with sample slogans on these big knickers, including real gems like "Happy Farty Pants," and then finishing up with "Who wouldn't want to get their hands on Miranda's pants?" And only at this point, when you click through with every intention of buying, because it sounds like quite a great idea, that the prank was finally revealed.
My examples are never going to live up to your examples for sure. But I always go to anything pets. Like, this is what I'm just drawn to in the world. So I want to give 2 shout outs, one for BarkBox and then one for MeowBox, because we're equal dog and cat lovers on this podcast, I think. BarkBox, it's a dog brand. They announced a revolutionary new product for cats, which was a cardboard box, which I loved so much. The joke lands because it's an absurdly obvious product and joke, right? An innovation that's literally just a cardboard box. It's universally funny to cat lovers. Anyone with a cat knows that they'd prefer the box over like an expensive toy. It had over-the-top marketing language, features like fun scratch texture and intruder-proof walls. And it really parodied how brands hype up simple products into these like incredible things. And maybe most importantly, and what I loved about it, is that it demonstrated real brand self-awareness, right? A dog brand joking about cats.
It was
just adds another playful layer. Perfect. Oh, and a segue there to MeowBox. And this one was like especially hilarious to me as the person, I don't know, I've worked in consulting for a lot of dating brands, and so this one just really stood out. MeowBox introduced Only Beans, which was a parody of a subscription platform where people can subscribe to exclusively content of cat paws, the little beans. This is obviously spoofing the model of paid creator platforms. It's so good. It clearly mimics the structure and branding of OnlyFans, of course. Cat paw pads famously called beans, which cat owners like obsess about online, rightfully, because they're so cute. It exaggerates creator economy features like subscriptions, VIP content, and tipping, all around blurred images behind a paywall of cat feet, which is mimicking adult content previews, but with innocent cat photos. Just a chef's kiss for me.
So
as far
good.
As April
if there was
Fools
like
go.
An award for best April Fools, I think would have had the finalists from that batch.
I loved it so much. Such good examples. And before we go into some other examples, I think that there are some very obvious, clear do's and don'ts when it comes to pulling off a successful April Fool's stunt. So we wanted to summarize a couple of those points from our episode on this very day and topic last year, just as a little recap. So, Guy, what do email marketers need to keep in mind when they're trying to do humor right?
Let's just touch on a few really solid rules for senders to live by when they do use humor. So I think, first of all, it's almost stating the obvious, but know your audience. Make sure you understand their expectations, their cultural and social context, so things like wordplay doesn't always apply to international subscribers. Just keep that in mind. I think you also want to make sure that your jokes align with your brand tone and your products or services, and that, you're not sacrificing the whole email just for the sake of the joke. And remember that sarcasm can easily be misread. So when in doubt, it's probably always safest to poke fun at yourself or leverage a joke to address common misperceptions about your company or your products. And that way you just steer clear of offending anyone. And I think finally, just keep the jokes fairly broad. Again, like sarcasm, niche jokes can fall flat. So, use memes that highlight recent trends, humorous quotes from the famous or infamous for that matter, or just go with something that's so completely absurd that nobody can mistake it for anything other than the fact that it must be a joke.
Cat toe beans, i.e. cat toe beans.
I still think there's probably a few people out there that want that one to be true.
Can't even. I want to do the flip side of what you've just said. There are times where it obviously should not be using humor, even on April Fools. So some to your point, right? Like know your audience for sure. Humor isn't always going to translate across cultures, languages, international audiences. So basically, to your point of niche jokes and wordplay there, this should go without saying, but it doesn't, I guess. If the joke demeans someone or a group, it's probably not a good idea from a deliverability perspective, even because spam complaints, they're going to come back to bite you. If the humor targets a group, topic, sensitive issue, can really easily backfire beyond like brand reputational damage, right? Also, some sectors, they simply just aren't a good fit for jokes. Industries like finance or banking or healthcare, insurance, I don't want to get a joke from my bank in an email. I don't want there to be a joke. I'm looking to these brands to communicate with me about serious matters, and humor can really feel inappropriate there and undermine trust. And then lastly, which we're going to come back to a little bit later, this isn't necessarily an issue of timing, but rather of the times that we are in. We are living in the age of AI summarizers. But I think that's going to be a little bit of a gamble in the world of AI. Sarcasm specifically, which is so imperative and critical for April Fools. Sarcasm relies heavily on tone and content, which can be difficult to convey to an AI summarizer, right? So without clear signal, subscribers may take that message literally rather than humorously. So,
yep, it's gonna be interesting. And you touch on timing. There's another important aspect of timing, especially this year, because the Easter weekend is only 2 days after April Fools. So is there a risk of a prank actually causing confusion with marketing for this next important event? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there is. Brands are often in the middle of some of their most important seasonal campaigns at this time. There's last-minute shipping reminders, spring sales, entirely new spring product lines. So if a brand sends a prank email, it can create risk, right, for message dilution. So subscribers may focus on the joke rather than the actual Easter or spring promotion. It can disrupt real shopping, especially if the prank looks too real, maybe. It could confuse shoppers about what's actually available. And also, maybe I'm just like too in the industry and in my own mailbox at this point, but like, I think senders should always ask themselves, like, do we need another email right now? Do we need to send this next one in addition? So I do think it can be confusing. What about you?
I find myself wondering if there's also a risk of the opposite happening. And, what I mean by that, I saw an article the other day, Danielle, talking about how Meta has patented an AI application that will let users continue posting from beyond the grave. Can you imagine it? I mean, I'm sure there was a Black Mirror episode about that. And when I read this article, I literally checked my watch for the date, wondering if it was an April Fool when I read the article, but we were still several weeks out. It was the end of February. And in the comments below the article, a guy wrote about how he had applied to have his dad's LinkedIn profile updated as a memorial when his dad died. But LinkedIn got the request wrong, and instead they modified and notified his network of his new job. And he received 30 messages saying, hey, congrats on your new role. Although in fairness, he did say that, if his dad had still been alive to see that happen, he would have found it hilarious. But that's kind of
Oh
beside the
my.
point. So, but
I'm
beware
so
unintended consequences. That's all I can say.
I'm so rarely rendered speechless by the examples that you give. I did not think that's where you were going to go with the reverse risk for this in terms of timing. I thought you were going to say something like, I don't know, as a general comment. And I think this personally, we're living in a time where reality is often just as strange or stranger than the April Fool's jokes that we've seen in the past. There was a KFC example that was not, I think it was originally conceived as an April Fool's joke, but then they actually came out with a real product and had a real email associated with it, which was like fried chicken flavored toothpaste.
Yeah, because people really wanted it. Believe it or
People
not.
wanted this thing. Like, people are freaks, man. Like, people are weird. But then with the example that you would think that's a joke, right? That seems like a very obvious gag, but it was real. And then on the flip side, that example that you mentioned earlier with Maud and the intimacy pods, I feel like these exist. Maybe not intimacy, but definitely sleeping pods exist. Like, I don't know. I feel like I definitely saw those in Japan. So I don't know what's weirder. Like, maybe your April Fool's prank is real. I don't know. Oh, anyway, I do want to circle back to the AI of it all, because we must, even though maybe everybody's a little AI'd out. But the developments we've seen in inboxes, especially over the last year, the omnipresence of AI means that April Fool's emails could be a little tougher to execute this year. And I want to ask you, Guy, why do you think AI, or how do you think AI may make April Fool's a little bit trickier?
Getting serious for just a moment. So I think we've already seen how relevant sorted inboxes are going to be a real shame for events like April Fool's, because it basically means that messages that depend on their time sensitivity aren't necessarily going to get seen. We've already seen this on Valentine's Day this year and Mother's Day, which we've just had in the UK, where these event-specific emails were actually shown well down in the inbox below emails from previous days that were deemed high relevance. And this is going to be a big challenge for marketers on these special days. And I think they're starting to think about how they apply new tactics to deal with this. For example, by explicitly referencing the date in question, February 14th, March 15th, to make it clear to the AI that this message applies to that day in question. And, so that hopefully Gmail and the others that are doing relevant sorted tabs, understand that message is specifically relevant to the day it's being sent on.
Right. I wonder if this will be the revival of self-asserted Google annotations with those dates or something like that. I don't know.
I actually think so. It'll be interesting to see.
I do think it's funny to consider what AI summaries might make of an April Fool's joke.
The mind boggles.
These tools are trying to extract the literal meaning and intent of an email. So in theory, the surprise could just be like spoiled before the email is ever even opened. Like, the summary could just say April Fool's Day message from brand, which womp womp, like that sucks. But for like April Fool's emails, of course, their value comes from misdirection and humor. And these tools are prioritizing like clarity, intent detection, actionability. But on the flip side, depending on like in the examples that or a couple of the examples that we've discussed today, if that April Fool's reveal is buried near the bottom of the email, which it so often is, back to the Maud example, AI might not even include that in the summary? Like, it's possible that AI could read that email and even enhance the joke, maybe, because the summary acts like a pre-header. So all that real estate could just be used to
I'm thinking how
entice.
AI summaries seem to be particularly focused on extracting sort of, coupons and discount codes. And could you imagine that one? Hey, 50% off your intimacy pod. Get in now.
I know. It's just so bizarre.
We've mostly been talking retrospectively, learnings from last year, learnings from other recent important events. Let's talk about this year. Question for you, Danielle. What April Fool's prank would you love to see in your inbox this year?
I was thinking about this, and it'll never happen in a million years. It'll never happen. But I wonder what would it be like if the mailbox providers themselves, like a Gmail or a Yahoo, sent an April Fool's product update joke email? Because you'll get an email about enhancements or a pop-up about something. But what if there was like no emails day? Just one day where Gmail or Yahoo promised not to send a single promotion to your mailboxes. The punchline, of course, would be that like this email announcing that is A, an email, and B, email is just so essential that this would be reiterating their own importance. I don't know. I kind of love it. But that's what I would want. What about you?
I would love to craft something around AI going haywire. For example, the sender claims that to improve their personalized experience, they've been using AI to eye track which parts of their emails their respondents look at most closely. And, they could take it like a little bit seriously and, we can improve your user experience because we know you prefer round buttons to square buttons, for example, based on what you've been looking at. But then I was thinking, there could be a risk of the results becoming completely inappropriate. I mean, can you imagine a fashion retailer inadvertently highlights the fact that some of his readers just seem to spend a lot of time looking at the model's feet?
Listen, I think this is the time we're living in, right? Where who knows could possibly happen. I do want to ask, obviously we've talked about April Fool's Day for this episode mostly, but what other like novelty events on the marketing calendar are you a fan of, Guy?
I think for me, it's definitely Blue Monday, which is already quite a big thing in the UK, and I know it's catching on in other markets. And it's this idea that the third Monday of January has been officially calculated as the most miserable day of the year. In the Northern Hemisphere, the weather's terrible, there's no sunshine, people are still broke from Christmas, the next payday's still miles away. The lawyers will tell you that divorce rates go through the roof in January as partners that were sort of forced to spend time together over the Christmas period and realized that, they couldn't stand each other anymore. So that's Blue Monday, the third Monday of January. And it started to become a bit of a thing on the marketing calendar. And it's a really great day for brands with a feel-good offering. So, think holiday companies and they're promoting a warm, sunny break in the Caribbean. And, just that picture of the sparkling beach, gets that vitamin D synthesizing just looking at the picture. And, similarly, it's a good event for flowers and chocolates. You can potentially play it straight, imagine you're a health supplement vendor and you're offering your customers a little boost just when they really need it most. You can also align it with your brand and think Ann Summers. I'm not going to share this example on YouTube, I'm telling you. Ann Summers of lingerie and sort of, slightly racy adult toys, reimagine it as Blue Moan Day in their slightly lurid subject lines.
I was going to say, I didn't realize we could vary so much in our examples that were there's just such a broad spectrum. So we had our Litmus Live event fairly recently, which was great. And Guy, you and I co-hosted one of the sessions along with Al Iverson, who's the best, on what we can expect from trends in 2026, what's happening. And we were talking about a very specific idea, billboard effect, where, you may not engage with an email, right? But that email has an impact. So you may buy later. And I was saying, I'm 5 feet tall. I can't shop online. Like, I have to go into the store, but I'll see something I like in an email and then I will do that. And when I announced this on Litmus Live, there was a flood of fellow 5 foot tall email marketing nerds.
That's right. There was a blizzard of them, I remember.
Who came into the chat, and it was amazing. So I have to say, National Short Person Day.
Is that a thing?
That is a thing. It is December 22nd. Here's somewhat ironically, it gets buried right before Christmas on December 22nd. But just imagine that's like a very special, unique holiday Christmas promotion you have for your petites. Send out National Short Person Day.
Yeah, made to measure.
Come on. And then also, it's been all pets all day for this episode. So I got to say National Pet Day, April 11th. It's right before my birthday, and I love my dog. So those are the ones that I want to start getting, a lot of attention. I'm amazed. I'm amazed by the examples that we've had today.
You couldn't make them up.
We are going to start closing out today's episode. And to do that, Guy, I want to ask you one more question, which is, have you ever received an email that you thought was an April Fool's prank, but it was real?
I received this email for beach shorts a little while back, and I can only tell you that some of the examples they were promoting were seriously outlandish. And one in particular, I'll describe it to you. It basically recreated Michelangelo's creation of Adam painting. You know, the one where God's lounging around and he's about to impart the gift of life to Adam with his finger. And, in this image, there's like naked bodies rolling all over the place and bunches of grapes that haven't been eaten. And I sat there feeling a little dazed, thinking, holy moly, would I even dare give those an outing on the beach? Then I spoke with someone I know quite well, Danielle. He told me that given a choice between her boyfriend's 20-year-old pair of threadbare beach shorts, which he refuses to give up and would happily live in for the rest of his life, compare that with the embarrassment of Michelangelo if she had the choice. And what can I say? Maybe I just need to be braver.
Darling, if you're listening, these would be an upgrade. Seriously. So good, Guy. Love it. There's April Fools, everybody. Happy April Fools to you all.
Be sure to tune in next time and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And don't forget to visit senderscore.com for loads more great resources to help you become a stronger sender.
To all you sleepless senders out there, thank you for joining us after hours, and see you next time.